right, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on CBS Sports Radio on your Saturday morning. This time of the year in college basketball, there are always special stories, but now we're going to talk to an extremely special story, and that is the head coach at UNC Greensboro. His name is Wes Miller, and his team earlier this week did defeat East Tennessee State in the Southern Conference Championship game, and now his squad is dancing into March Madness. So let's head out to the hotline and welcome in the head coach at UNC Greensboro, and that, of course, is Wes Miller. Coach, it's Zach Gelb on CBS Sports Radio. Congratulations. Thank you for the time, and how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
So this has been a build-up all throughout the year to get back to this spot and end up going to the Southern Conference Championship game and winning it again. Last year you lose to Eastern Tennessee State. This year you beat them. Just what has this last few days been like for you, finally realizing that you've accomplished your goal?
Well, last Monday night was really emotional because, as you said, I mean, we had a great year last year. In some ways, outside of not making the tournament, the best year in program history. And we felt like we just came up one possession short. You know, we lost to those guys a year ago on the last possession up in Asheville. And so, you know, in the back of our minds, we were holding on to that all year and I think we had a lot of motivation. And as you know, it's just so hard to get to the conference championship game to even get an opportunity to get a do-over. I mean, that's such a long process, and you got to get fortunate and lucky, and our league's a great league. So when the buzzer sounded the other night, it was just really emotional, and, you know, we're thrilled. I mean, we're thrilled. We're trying to get really focused now and get back to business. But it's been a really exciting time for our program and for the entire university.
When you have such a build-up to get back to that spot, you can't win it all back in one day. It takes multiple days of practices and many months. What did you say to the kids on Monday night after you guys did win the championship and are going to the NCAA Tournament?
Man, we had so much fun. Like I said, it was really emotional. I think some of us were, you know, in tears. Some of us were jubilated. We were hugging. We spent about 45 minutes out on the floor after the game before we even had a chance to get back to the locker room, cutting down nets and having fun and hugging each other and dancing around. So it was this neat thing. But when we got back to the locker room, you know, I think it was cool because usually as a head coach, you address the team after the game. We all kind of just sat around and addressed each other in the locker room. After they doused me with a cooler full of water, and I got the best bath of my life. But, no, we sat around and just addressed each other, and, you know, our seniors talked about how proud they were of all their teammates and, you know, how much it meant to get back. And, you know, we've always said that we're not going to have a finish line. If we achieve something, you know, we didn't cross the finish line, we're going to enjoy it and be thankful for it and then try to get ready for the next thing. But we all told ourselves on Monday night we were going to try to enjoy that one a little bit longer before we decided we were going to start getting focused for the NCAA tournament.
Head coach at UNC Greensboro, Wes Miller, is my guest right now on CBS Sports Radio. I was reading an article in one of your local papers earlier today that you actually had the RunnerUp Trophy in your office to use that as motivation all throughout the year, and your kids would see it all throughout this season. How'd you come up with that idea?
Well, I didn't even know they had such thing as a runner-up trophy. You know, we hadn't been in the conference final before until last year, so we lost, and you know how that goes. You know, we were all disappointed, but we did get to play in the NIT. Somewhere a handful of weeks after the conference tournament, you know, our Matt McAllister, was our sports information director, walks into my office and delivers this conference runner-up trophy. And I looked at it, and I said, man, number one, I didn't know they made those. Number two, it kind of bothers me to look at it because it reminds me, you know, how close we came but didn't get there. And he set it on a mantle in my office. And after a couple of days, I realized I want to leave it there because I want everybody that comes in my office. And my office is a pretty it's a center point of our program during the day. All our players come through every day and hang out. And I said, I want everybody that walks in here, staff and players, to remember how bad we felt that night and remember what we're working for every day, you know, to try to get 1-2 possessions better. And so it kind of became a thing. And a bunch of the guys have asked me in the last week, Coach, you going to take that out of there? But I might just leave the bigger, better trophy sitting beside it so we can remind ourselves the right way to handle things and the wrong way as we move forward into this offseason.
Well, here's my idea. I think you guys should have a team party and hang that thing up like a piñata and let people take a few whacks at it from last year's trophy. Break that sucker.
I think our two seniors last year, R.J. White and Deontay Ball, would love to come back and do that.
We're talking to Wes Miller right now on CBS Sports Radio. If people haven't seen your team play this year, describe your team to me, Coach.
Well, we're really deep, and that's been a lot of fun. We are a veteran team, but we've played 11 guys significant minutes this year, and we do sprinkle in a couple young guys off the bench that are like instant energy. We play, three-quarter court pressure every possession, so we really try to take people out of what they do and try to get after it defensively. This has been by far the best defensive team I've ever coached, and I think that's kind of been the identity of our group. And then we have some really talented offensive players. Francis Alonso may be as good of a shooter as anybody in college basketball. I know there's some great ones out there, so I don't want to say he's the best, but I'd put him up there with anybody. And if you go look at his numbers, I think you'll see why. And he can do a lot more than just shoot the ball. We let him play a little bit on the ball at point guard. He plays in a ton of ball screens. He's a really, really special player. Marvin Smith and Jordy Kuiper are two seniors that we've just kind of been the backbone of our program this year. And there's a host of other guys. So, I hope people will check us out. We've been a fun team to watch on nights that with the ball's gone in, but we've been able to still win a lot of games on nights it hasn't because we've been pretty tough defensively.
When did you know, because you're only 35 right now, and you've been at the program as a head coach since 2011 and being an assistant before that, when did you know that you wanted to be a head coach in college basketball, Coach?
As long as I can remember. I fell in love with basketball probably before I could, walk and talk type of thing. And whenever in your childhood you start thinking about what do I want to do when I grow up, it was always I want to play basketball till I can't anymore, and then I want to coach basketball. So I've known that forever. And when I chose to go to North Carolina, the reason for that decision was solely because I thought that would help me get into college coaching because I didn't think I'd have a great chance to play. I've known it for quite a long time.
When did it hit you, and when you look back and you reflect on your career at UNC, because like you said, you go there as a walk-on, you end up winning a national championship, and then the year later you're getting significant burn for Roy Williams. When did it hit you? Because it's pretty remarkable what you're able to accomplish as a walk-on.
Yeah, I had one of those like storyline, college experiences, and it's like I was pinching myself all the time, and now I feel that way every day as a coach because I lived out my dream as a player, and now I'm getting to live out my dream as a coach. I'm one of those lucky people in life that doesn't feel like I ever wake up and have to work type of thing.
I'm not going to ask you give me one thing that Roy Williams has taught you because I know that's very tough to answer because I'm sure he gave you a lot of knowledge with your time with Roy Williams. But if you had to reflect on the importance of one Roy Williams to your career, describe that relationship a little bit to me.
Well, listen, that's such a loaded question. I don't even know where to start. But what I'll say is this: he's so genuine, and everybody knows how great of a coach he is. But when I sat in his office and I was trying to make a decision of a college choice, I was transferring after my freshman year in college, and I was wavering. Obviously, North Carolina is North Carolina, but I did have concerns that I'd ever play and I wouldn't be on scholarship. And he said to me, "If you come here, I promise you I'll help you be a college basketball coach." And a lot of people make a lot of promises in recruiting, but he followed through with that. Not just after I graduated, but I remember my first practice there, one of my first practices, he walked up behind me and said, "Hey, you still want to coach, right?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, keep a notebook of everything that we do." And it was stuff like that that he did then and helped me get my first job and has helped me every day since. That makes him just really genuine. I know I'm not the only player that he's done that with. I think he does that with all his guys. So he's a really special one. I'm biased, but I don't think there's anybody better.
Did you have a conversation with them after the Southern Conference Championship victory? And if so, how'd that conversation go? Well,
he left me a voicemail and a text, and I responded. But we haven't caught up yet. He's a little busy right now too, I think. But he was one of my first calls and first texts after we won it.
When you sit here and reflect, and you still got a lot of work to do here at UNC Greensboro, and you got to get ready for an NCAA tournament game, and you'll find out who you'll be playing as we're talking to Wes Miller right now, their head coach on CBS Sports Radio. This has been a learning and a growing process for you as a coach and for your program at UNC Greensboro. Just to look at where you came in when you were an assistant to where this program is now, just how about what this program has been able to accomplish over the last few years?
It's been a long process. We struggled a lot, in my first handful of years, and that was a really hard time for me as a young coach, and it was really humbling. But now I think I value that time as much as anything because we learned a lot about who we are as coaches and who we are as a staff and who we were trying to be as a program and what we valued. And I think a lot of those things that we learned it really helped us grow into what we've been able to do here the last couple of years. So it's been a long process, but it's been a good process.
When you have so much success at your age, I'm sure you get a bunch of people that reach out to you. What do you say to a young coach that's trying to become a head coach one day at the college basketball level?
Oh, man, well, one thing that I've learned is that, when I got the job, I think I was an interim coach at 27 years old, and I thought I knew what I was doing. I learned really quick that I don't. And what I've learned now is I still don't, but I know that I don't now. That's kind of what I'm saying. So I guess what I'd say is I don't have all the answers, and I would just say keep working at it every day, enjoy the process, and this is the type of profession that if you feel like you're working, it's not worth it because it's so much pressure on your family and the people around you. But if you love it, it's the greatest thing in the world. So I don't have all the answers for anybody. But at least I know that now.
Wrapping up with Wes Miller right now on the Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. This NCAA tournament, obviously we're all going to fill out our brackets as fans, and we're going to watch all the exuberant finishes with the buzzer beaters and the Cinderella stories that are going to come like they do every year in March. But this one feels a little bit overshadowed, which what is going on with the sport, with the whole FBI scandal, and it revolves the NCAA coaches. Just as a coach at the NCAA level, how do you react when you continue to see this story unfold, Coach?
I think it's been shocking to, our entire profession and the entire college basketball community. I just have a great deal of hope. I know that, everybody I've talked to feels the same. A great deal of hope that, if there are, things being uncovered, that leads to change and leads to things that happen that make our game better and make it cleaner. But no, this has been shocking, and it's been terrible that this has dominated so much of the news cycle because, you hope that it's not as widespread as people say because you do see that there's so many great things going on campuses and in different programs all across the country. And it stinks that, a lot of the news has been dominated by some of these negative things. But you hope it leads to some really positive change, too.
Now, I'll end you on this. Your experience when you were on UNC winning a national championship, does that help you now in your preparation, knowing to what to expect for an NCAA tournament game that your team will face next week?
I'm not sure. I think, if anything, I just know what it's like to go to the NCAA tournament in terms of, the open practices and the process of it, just because I was there as a player. But I'm not so sure. That was a long time ago, and my role was a heck of a lot different. In those days. So this is new. This is new for our program. It's new for me as a coach, and we're going to try to do as much as we can to figure out the right things to do to prepare and have our team as ready as possible to go in and try to come out swinging, as you'd say, regardless of who we play.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about this, talking to you right now. You put in so much tough work as a player to get to where you were, and then also as a coach. What's more rewarding? All the hard work that you put in as a player, all the hard work when you have success as a coach. What's more rewarding to you?
Well, just so different. Right now I'd say as a coach, but that's probably because it's in the moment. I think it was really rewarding as a player, to have some success because there were a lot of times I thought it would never happen. But as a coach, it seemed even a lot more difficult. Like I said, our first couple of years here were really tough. And if you go look at our record and some of the things that we weren't able to do in those first couple of years, we thought there was a time we might not be here very long. That we might lose our jobs. And to see now that, we've won the regular season 2 years in a row. We made it to the NIT and now the NCAA tournament. That's been really, really rewarding and special. And the best part, I think, now as a coach is to see your kids, overcome those things and see the players get to experience some of the same feelings that I got to experience as a player. So if you ask me that question right now, I'd say as a coach.
Well, Coach, we wish you and your program the best of luck. Like we've been saying, it's a remarkable job what you've done with UNC Greensboro, and it's great to see a redemption story. You guys losing last year, then winning it this year. And we thank you so much for coming on the program, and best of luck coming up next week.
I really appreciate you having me. Thanks so much.